Hello and welcome to episode 10 of Let's Play Planet Coaster here on Theme Park Worldwide. So in this episode I'm going to be starting work on a brand new roller coaster, only the second coaster actually here at the park. And yeah, as you can see there from the little zoom out, located right at the back of the park in a huge show building. It's going to be an indoor coaster and it is going to be themed to Back to the Future, the 1985 classic. Well, Back to the Future with a twist. Now obviously I'm glad that you all enjoyed my Jaws ride. I know it made quite a lot of you laugh, especially with the commentary that I did for it, and that's what it was intended to do. Nothing too serious. This channel's not about that. It's about having a bit of fun, having a laugh. And yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed the little commentary, and I'll do something similar with this ride once it's complete. However, I do plan on taking quite a bit of audio from the films to put into the ride with this one, mainly because it's going to be very different. Obviously, with the Jaws ride, Universal did have a boat ride, and that's what some of the audio was from, and obviously I added bits in there, and it was different to the Universal ride. It had a bit of a different twist on it, whereas with this, it's going to be completely different to anything what's ever been built. Mainly because obviously Back to the Future's never actually had a roller coaster. It has had a dark ride before, and if you're familiar with Universal, they did actually change it into The Simpsons at California and also Florida. And yeah, like I did never actually get the chance to do it when it was Back to the Future, which I'm absolutely gutted about. I would have loved to, as I absolutely love it. Like I say, the first film released in 1985, one of my favourite all-time film trilogies. Obviously they released two more afterwards, and the original's still the best in my opinion. But if you have seen Back to the Future, comment below. Like, I'd love to know what your favourite film was from the trilogy. But yeah, like I say, with this one it's going to be a bit different. It's a coaster. We're going to be taking that whole storyline of going to 88 miles an hour in the DeLorean and Doc Brown, Marty McFly, but doing it a little bit different. So I look forward to it, and if you've got any suggestions for when I do the theming in the next episode, then of course comment down below on this video. So yes, we're already a couple of minutes in. You can already see what ride type I'm using for this one. I am actually using a Gerstlauer Eurofighter. I don't actually particularly like this model of ride normally in theme parks, as I find them to be quite rough, but yeah, they're normally really intense. With this one, it's not actually going to be ridiculously intense. It's not going to be that high. It is going to be a long ride though, and it's going to feature two launches. And as you can probably see, you might be thinking, hang on a minute, why is there just loads of flat track with kicker wheels? Basically, it's going to be having a lot of show scenes in this. In fact, you're going to do that whole show scene, launch out into that little airtime hill where it'll make its way down into some inversions that you'll see me put in over the next couple of minutes. And then after that, my plan is to sort of take it up into like a raised up section where it slows it down again. We have a big show scene, and that's why I want it to be this whole time traveling thing comes together. Like you've been launched to 88 miles an hour, so to speak. You're not actually going to be launched to that speed, but obviously that's the famous speed from the film. I didn't want to go quite that fast with it being an indoor coaster, so I would have had to make the show building huge. But yeah, as the story goes, you'll launch to that speed from the film, and then you'll travel through this first section through various different inversions. You can see the first one being a loop just there. And then after that, you'll come around into your second show scene, like you've travelled to another moment in time, so to speak. But it's the wrong moment in time for what you're looking for on this mission. So you'll actually have to launch out again through various different inversions. There will be one outside section, which I think is going to be an inversion, which I'm going to put sort of outside the show building. And you'll obviously see that from the queue line and whilst you walk into this sci-fi area. And then of course you'll make your way around that second part of the coaster, some lower sections, little airtime hills, and yeah, back round into the brakes and then the station. So a lot of theming to come with this one, a lot of special effects, a lot of triggered effects, and that'll all be done in the next episode. This is all about building the show building and putting the track together. So as you can see there, it makes its way into that airtime hill. I think the speed's around 55 miles an hour for that launch, from what I can remember. And yeah, you'll come down that drop into that first loop, and then of course into the other inversions just there. So you've already had 3 inversions, and then straight up into that other airtime hill just there as well. And yeah, I will of course show you an on-ride bit of footage from this later on, so you can actually get the speed of what it's actually going. It's quite hard to work out when it's being sped up. In total, it took me about an hour and a half to build this coaster, so not too bad at all really, but the theme in itself is what's going to take the time with this one. As always with any project, obviously the Jaws ride had a lot of trees and stuff around it, and only a few buildings, whereas with this there's going to be a lot of scenery around, a lot of special effects. We're going to use things like lightning effects, smoke in certain places, fire effects, all that sort of stuff. And you can see just there, if you are familiar with the roller coaster builder in Planet Coaster, you'll know that you've got the smooth tool. You can either smooth all or smooth the banking, depending on what you want to do with your project. You can see there I'm using a combination of both, mainly smooth all, just to make sure that it's as smooth as it possibly can be. Like I say, if you've ever been on a Gerstlauer Eurofighter, they're not particularly the most comfortable rides. They are quite intense though normally. But yeah, this one is going to be not quite as beefy as some of the ones out there. As you can see there, I've reached my midpoint to this coaster. So it's coming round an upwards turn there. And it's going to be slowed down by brakes and also kicker wheels. And onto that second section. And you'll see me continue with that in just a moment. So here you can see that I'm putting the walls in along that first launch. I want to put all sorts of lights down there, flashing beacons, all that kind of stuff. And as you can see with this one, with it being a dark coaster, and obviously there's going to be a roof on all of this, other than the one inversion which will be outside, it's about just making sure that I get it right in terms of where the walls are going to be placed and the roof pieces. And so, yeah, it's quite a big complex project, as you can see so far. It might look like it's all coming together quite quick, but even to get to this stage, it was actually quite complicated, because you've got to make sure that I don't want loads of supports in the way of show scenes and all that kind of stuff. And you can see there that I'm just putting down the black steel roofing as my flooring throughout that. And you can see just under there, that's where the coaster will pass back through towards the finale section of the ride. But yeah, it's all experimenting with this. A lot of people comment and say, Sean, how do you come up with this stuff? Honestly, you just got to play with the game and see what you can put together. Like, there's certain times where I'll delete things, and you'll see it here in the sped up footage. Like, sometimes I'll build something and I don't like it and I'll delete it, or even sometimes I'll come back to it way later on. I might have even started the theming and think, hang on a minute, that doesn't work. But I'm really pleased so far with how this one's looking. And yeah, I'll leave you with a theme park music over the next few minutes whilst I continue with the build just here. So as you can see, you can really start to get a feel for how this is going to look once it's complete. And I've just installed the inversion there that is going to be on the outside of the show building. And you'll see now that I start to add a few walls and things around there. All of this is subject to change, really. It's more just working out where things are going to go positioning wise, so this obviously works out right, because I want that airtime hail to be quite fast there, and then it shoots out of the building and round that inversion, and it'll look really impressive from outside actually. And obviously for the riders, it's one of those where, oh my god, the whole ride's been indoors, and then all of a sudden, maybe what, 3 seconds outside, and then you're straight back into a dark show building. So yeah, I'm just getting that right there, where I'm positioning the wall all the way around the side. But yeah, it's coming together really nicely actually, and like I say, I'll show you a POV at the end of this video of how it looks speed wise. But yeah, I'm really pleased with the speed of it so far, especially over that airtime hill. It's a nice element, that through the inversion, down a little drop, into the airtime, followed by a drop and into another inversion. So yeah, I think that looks really good and it's a good speed. You can see here I'm just working out where I want to start that show scene, and I've been thinking about this actually, because obviously Back to the Future 3 is the episode where they sort of go back to the Old West, the Wild West, and I'd like to maybe do something along those lines just inside that top room. So maybe do like a Wild West scene and be like, hang on a minute, what we're doing back in the Old West, and then launch out into like the next stage where they need to be. So I might do that and build like all Western style buildings just inside that top section, and I think it'd be really different as well, not what you'd expect, because it's all sci-fi and futuristic, and you're going to start in like Doc Brown's workshop at the start. That's the plan, and there's going to be like all different DeLorean parts and all that kind of thing, because this is going to be based like after the films. That's the plan, and it's going to be more of a modern take on Back to the Future. Obviously, yes, he's still got the DeLorean because that's the classic, that's what the film's all about, that's what it's famous for, but it sort of build on that even more and make it a bit more modern. Like he's had various different DeLoreans and have them all parked up down the side, and barrels of all sorts of stuff. Obviously back in the first film for Back to the Future, obviously they had to go onto the Twin Pines Mall and get some substances which they were using and stuff for the DeLorean. So yeah, it's one of those that I really want to build a lot on in terms of that first scene where there's a lot of different things around that don't really make a lot of sense but are a bit weird. Doc Brown is a very weird character in this film, and that's what I want to carry on with the scenery around this ride. Obviously there's a lot of other sections around this. My plan is to put a few rocks in some of the sections, but mostly I'm going to be using like the star cloth and special effects and lighting to make this look like you're travelling through time basically. This will be the last section of the ride now, so obviously you're coming down underneath what is going to be that Wild West style show scene above it, obviously based on Back to the Future the third. And yeah, like this is just going to be hand around, lots of different corners, little airtime hills. Obviously with this section it's quite hard to sort of work on now because there's quite a lot inside this building now. Like you think in the past 12 minutes that this video's been going, like the building's just come out of nowhere, hasn't it really? It's all come together, and that's the good thing about building the track and also the build at the same time, because it means that you can sort of get to see what it's going to look like quite quickly. Progression is quite fast with this sort of ride. Obviously Planet Coaster, when you're doing your theming and things, sometimes you think, oh, you know, you've got so much left to do, whereas with something like this you can already start to see how it's going to be, and it means the next episode I can focus all on the theming and special effects. And who knows, it might actually get finished in the next episode. I doubt it. I think this will probably span over 3 to get it done, but yeah, you can just see these last couple of sections here now meandering round. A little bit of banking there and a little drop down into the brake run. Obviously it's just about getting this right positioning wise, and I noticed that I put this in now and it's on a bit of a slant, so I do actually change that in a moment and you'll see me delete that. But you'll see that every so often with anything I build in Planet Coaster, I like to zoom out and see it. That's mainly because I just like to see the sight lines. I like to look at how it is compared to other attractions in the park scale wise, and yeah, that's what I sort of like to do with this. You can see here I'm messing about with the brake run because I was thinking, oh, do I want it on a slant? And I thought, no, let's straighten it out. And that's the good thing about the Planet Coaster roller coaster builder tool. It's nice and easy to connect the ride up at the end as well. Obviously if you want to, you can go straight in and do it, or you can use the autocomplete just to connect that last bit of track on, which can, you know, it's a lot easier doing that in my opinion, just that last section. But there you go. It looks really nice. You can see the trains all going out of the station there, just continuing to go round. That's what I tend to do whilst I'm building a coaster. Just keep it testing, keep the trains running round so I can get a good idea for the speed. But in general, I got to this stage and I was really happy with the track design. And so what you're going to see over the next few minutes is me continuing to build up this huge show building. Like I say, everything on this coaster that you see, other than the one inversion, what's on this side on the right here, is going to be inside. So it's about making sure that I've got enough space to build the theming inside and build the actual show building roofs and things. You know, it's quite a complex thing now. Obviously I'm building it up there. That's going to have to be a really high section in the middle. So the easiest thing to do with this, and a little suggestion for you if you do like use any of my tips whilst building things in Planet Coaster, is with this one you always build it all up in layers. That's what anything is in this game. It's all about layers, and it's where you start off. Your foundation, your core thing, whatever, whether it's a roller coaster, a flat ride, a water ride, dark ride, and then of course your theming. You don't want to get yourself sort of bogged down with it all. I know a lot of people comment and say, Sean, I don't know how you do it, but honestly you've just got to not let it sort of overwhelm you. You've got to take it one step at a time, and it all starts to come together really nicely like you can see here, and I'm really pleased with this so far. Obviously extending the show building out a bit there. I've got quite a lot of space down in that bottom corner to work on some theming elements. So I'm going to think a lot about what I want to put around this coaster. But you've got to think you don't want to put too much because you're just not going to see it at the speed you're going. You want items around, but you don't want loads of stuff. Kind of a bit like Space Mountain at Disneyland Paris, if you have been on that. Like there's asteroids and things around, but there's not too much either. There's a few projections and things, but that's kind of what I want to do with this. So that'll be the tallest parts of the show building just there, as you can see, just getting the right height just so that inversion fits in nicely. And obviously the exterior of this will be themed as well, but it's not actually going to look that high. You'll see some shots of it from different areas around the park, and I've wanted to keep it quite low, this show building, just because I don't want a big massive futuristic show building in the back of the park. What ruins the sight lines of like my Mediterranean feel, what I've created with the other areas, and the tram tour as well. I don't really want you to see this from there too much. It's about putting all that together. But it's coming together really nicely. Like I say, I'll leave you again for a couple of minutes with some music. Where do you think this music's from, by the way? Obviously, a lot of you probably know it's from Thorpe Park. But what part of the park did this music play? It doesn't anymore, or snippets of it might do around certain attractions, but in general it doesn't play at the park anymore. Comment below, I'll be very interested to see with this one, and I'll be back with you in a couple of minutes where we'll take a ride on this new coaster at the park. Here we go then, so you can see there most of the show building walls are now in place. Some of them might need to go a little higher in some sections, but that's certainly something that I can work on in the next episode depending on the theming. But I'm really pleased with how it looks so far, and like I say, come back in the next episode where I'm going to start work on the theming, and you never know, I might get it finished, but I doubt it because there's quite a lot to do inside this one. Like I say, I think it'll span across 2 episodes to get the interior finished. A lot of programming and stuff to get this one right as well. But anyway, yes, let's get on board this coaster so you guys can actually see what it looks like and go into some real time so you can see the speed of this ride as well. And like I say, it's not the most intense coaster. The launch is about 55 miles an hour for the first one, and the second one's about 60 miles an hour. But obviously with the effects and things inside the ride will make it feel a lot faster. But here we go then, let's head into the ride station, get that restraint down, and off we go then, dispatch. So you can see here, this will be all making your way round towards Doc Brown's workshop. And then as soon as you enter this section round this corner, that's where the workshop will begin. So if you imagine just here now, DeLoreans, barrels, lots of different sci-fi theming, experiments, things that have maybe gone wrong over the years, all down the side. Then you'll see another DeLorean, maybe with the lights on. All the things will be flashing now down this tunnel as you launch to what the simulated speed is of 88 miles an hour. Obviously, it's going to be about 55. Up into that airtime hill, straight down into the loop. Yeah, runs at a nice speed. And like I said, they're not the most comfortable rides, these, normally, when they're really big and intense. But obviously, the Smiler at Alton Towers, that's an infinity coaster. But it's still the same sort of thing from Gerstlauer, the same track type and train design. Hey, there you go. Runs at quite a nice speed, like I say, nothing too intense. And then obviously we slow right down here. This is where I have decided we're going to go with like a Wild West style scene in here. And it's going to be a bit like, well, hang on a minute, what's gone wrong? Why are we doing what we're doing back here, sort of thing. It's going to look just like it did do in the third Back to the Future film for this section. Obviously you'll make your way around here quite slow. And then it'd be like, right, I've had enough of this, we need to get out of here, basically. And then you'll go into the second LSM launch just here. Like I say, this to about 60 miles an hour. Straight into an inversion there. Really good close head choppers, airtime hill. And you're going to go to the little outside section. That bit of wall's going to need changing there, though, isn't it? A little bit too close. And of course, back underneath that Wild West section, which is obviously just going to be themed to something different. More airtime hills, quite nice transitions, and then down into the brake run, and that'll be the end of the ride. So it's quite a long one, this, really, quite a long coaster. It comes in two parts, this one, like I say. But yeah, I'm pleased with it, and a few aerial shots there just so you can see the layout in general. But like I say, I'm really pleased with it. I hope you come and join me in episode 11, because that's where you're going to really start to see a lot of change with this. We're turning it from just a track and show building to a full themed experience. You can see there, I'm just looking at the sight lines just to see how it looks. But yeah, anyway, I'm really pleased with it. Thank you very much for joining me here for another episode of Let's Play Planet Coaster. I am Sean Sandbrook. Make sure you check out all our other different vlogs and videos here on the channel. And of course, look back on our various different Planet Coaster videos. I'll see you in episode 11. And from this episode, that means it's time to cue those credits. See you later.